Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Packers Unscripted from Packers.com. I am Mike Spofford, joined by my partner in everything Packers, Wes Hodkiewicz. We're coming to you here from our studios at Lambeau Field to review, Wes, a 10-7 loss on Monday Night Football to the Philadelphia Eagles. You and I talked quite a bit last week after that very frustrating defeat at the hands of the Carolina Panthers at home. I think we both came out of last week feeling the Packers were going to play a better game on Monday night against the Eagles. And unfortunately, only one side of the ball played a better game because the defense showed up and gave the Packers a tremendous opportunity to beat the defending Super Bowl champs here at Lambeau. But the offensive struggles continue, and the search for answers on that side of the ball keeps rolling along.
Yeah, weird game. And, first and foremost, I'll start with this. By all accounts, and we were talking with Micah Parsons and Keyshawn Nixon guys in the locker room afterwards, the Packers lost 10-7 to a really good NFC team, the defending Super Bowl champion, a team that most likely will be in the playoffs if their season keeps its course. There are no moral victories, but, again, like Keyshawn said, it's not like they got blown out. Here's the problem. When you lose the game that you did to Carolina, when you lose the game a month earlier to the Cleveland Browns, games that you should win
Yes.
in low-scoring affairs,
Yes.
that margin for error just gets completely eaten up.
Yep.
And on evenings like this, you don't have that opportunity. So to have two home games, back-to-back games, score 20 points, it's not going to cut it. And defensively, it was still a weird kind of performance, too. There was no quarterback hits on Jalen Hurts. Not just sacks, there was no quarterback hits. But the Packers were unbelievable defending Saquon Barkley as a running back. This was maybe their best overall performance they had against Barkley, strictly speaking, against the run. Obviously, he leaked out for the 41-yard pickup after breaking the tackle. But the Packers defense gave the offense a chance. And outside of that one sort of tempo series in the fourth quarter, Green Bay's offense was just not able to do much with it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's kind of a broken record right now with the Packers offense, certainly the way these last two games have gone. You mentioned just the 20 points in the last two games. I believe the Packers have moved the ball across midfield 12 times in the last two games. 12 possessions have been in opposing territory, and they've only come away with 20 points. That's hard to fathom.
Yeah.
It's the one thing we saw in this game that hadn't really been an issue up to this point, but the drop passes sort of reared their ugly head, and that was something that the Packers done a great job through the first 8 games of the season in terms of catching the balls that were thrown their way, but there were multiple guys who dropped passes. Then you had some of the same things happening in terms of the penalties, missed blocks that lead to a sack, failing to protect the ball in a crucial situation. All of those things we've seen before, and the Packers just have not been able to. We've seen these things in small spurts or in small segments throughout the course of the season, but through the first 7 games of the year, by and large, except in Cleveland, the Packers were able to overcome some bad stretches here and there. The last 2 games, the bad stretches have been too long, and they haven't been able to overcome them, and so you walk away with a pair of 3-point losses in games that were eminently winnable. The frustrations are obviously there. You can hear it in everybody's voice after the game, from the head coach, the quarterback, to all the guys in the locker room. They're frustrated, and they've got to try to figure it out.
Yeah, I have so much respect for Josh Jacobs. Josh was put in a tough spot, and after the game was talking to us and was very thoughtful, very considerate of what he was saying. But the amount of times that his voice kind of cracked a little bit, the amount of times you could kind of almost feel the exasperation there, long, deep exhales, it's frustrating. And he said it was going to be afterwards. He's like, I'm going to have a difficult time sleeping tonight because there were some opportunities that he regrets himself not being able to fully maximize. But at the same time, it was just a myriad of offensive issues that plagued them in this one. And if you look through the first half of the season, the most consistent thing about the Green Bay Packers offense is they've had these type of stretches where they did not start fast in Pittsburgh, but then they found some ways forward. It's been this sputtering where there's really high octane explosive moments followed by inability to move the ball to midfield. But right now, Green Bay isn't being saved by those explosive plays either.
Yes, that's correct.
I was talking to a few people in the locker room about this afterwards. This was a definite bad matchup for Green Bay coming off of Carolina. And what I mean by that defensively is, E.J. Everett in Carolina is a disciple of Dom Capers, who built this whole zone blitz, fire zone defense with Vic Fangio. So Vic had all this film to see about how Everett attacked Green Bay's offense, put his own little wrinkles on it, but basically threw the same type of plan at him with better players. And they couldn't get out of the two shell. They couldn't run against it consistently. They couldn't attack the underneath intermediate throws out of it. And the times in which they did move the ball, Mike, there was either a big penalty or there was a fumble. And again, other than that one touchdown producing drive there that ended with Josh Jacobs' 6-yard rushing TD to make it 10-7 at the time, Green Bay just never was in a position where it felt like the foot was on the pedal and they were driving towards the end zone.
Yeah, I wrote last week, and we talked on this show last week. My biggest takeaway from the Carolina game was the Packers are going to have to figure out ways to win when they're forced to play in a way that they don't want to play. And the exact same thing, just as you outlined, Vic Fangio saw exactly what Everett and that Carolina defense did. He did the same thing with his guys with their own wrinkle. And we heard Matt LaFleur literally say the same thing at the podium after this game as he said a week ago, which is that the opposing defense is sitting back and waiting for the Packers to screw up. And that's exactly what's been happening. To have as many opportunities as they've had in opposing territory and not be able to get the points, the Packers have not proven that they can score consistently enough offensively when they aren't getting the big explosive plays. As you said, it's become an offense that relies on that in order to be successful. And with that taken away, they're going to have to figure it out because the blueprint is out there now. There's no reason for any opposing team at this point to play the Packers in anything but a too high safety shell and force the Packers to beat them that way. So they're going to keep seeing it.
In a lot of ways, it kind of, everyone always talks about the end of that 11th season, but that was the change, right? With Romeo Crennel, with Kansas City, they started deploying the too high. That bled into the 2012 season, and Green Bay ultimately had to run itself forward. They had to find a way to break that, and that was one of the messages that Josh Jacobs said afterwards. He doesn't know what the answers are, but the fact is the run game, by and large, is not doing enough. They're not getting enough opportunity. They're not generating enough yards off of what the defense is presenting to them. And until they do that, offensively, the passing game is going to be put in some really compromising situations. I think with the challenge for Green Bay this week, and it's a short week. In 2 days' time, you and I are going to be previewing the New York Giants. But the challenge for them is they need to figure out what they want to major in at this part of the season. You've had a full half of the regular season now. The running game is not what it was last year, particularly in the first half. They've not been able to lean and sort of build and pitch their tent on that foundation. And it's led to some challenges. The first couple weeks, they had those issues, but they got out of them with third and long conversions. The third and long conversions are not happening now. They start the game against Philadelphia 1 for 7 on third downs. There has to be either, whether it's emphasizing a particular player or a particular side of the offense, there has to be something that Green Bay can work with. Now, unfortunately, you hate to bring up the I word, but it struck again.
Yep, that's just where I was going to go. Is nobody wants to use injuries as an excuse, and there is enough talent on this team to perform better than they're performing. But we've talked a lot about how there's been this lack of continuity on the offensive line all season long because of injuries, guys trying to play through injuries, other guys coming out of games, shuffling around, moving players, and now it sounds like the news is not good on Elton Jenkins. He left the game late in the second quarter with what was termed an ankle injury. There are reports out there that it's worse than that. And Matt LaFleur even said it doesn't sound promising. That was his quote after the game on Monday night. So you've got that. You were coming into this game having to make the big adjustment, your first game without Tucker Kraft at tight end. The Packers weren't able to, as you said, find anything to hang their hat on without Tucker Kraft on the field. And at the same time, receivers like Malik Heath and Savion Williams are on the injury report, so they're either limited or not practicing during the week. Matthew Golden did not practice. He was out with a shoulder injury. You lose Romeo Doubs to a chest injury during the game. So it leads to Bo Melton, receiver turned cornerback, now turning back into a receiver, having to play way more offensive snaps than anybody could have imagined. It's this constant piling on of stuff going wrong, some of which is completely beyond the Packers' control. Mm-hmm. But then there's all this other stuff that's piling up that is within their control, where they're hurting themselves, and it's led to the season being, kind of at a crux here. It's at a turning point. They've got to figure something out, because at 5-3-1, big picture, 5-3-1 is not a bad place to be with 8 games to go. But the way these last 2 games have gone, there's a lot of reason for concern, and they've got to find some answers.
Yeah, I mean, this is the inflection point. You're going to have the Giants here coming up, but then you're heading into the NFC North schedule. And while the NFC West has been really difficult this year, the North still, nobody's a cakewalk in that division. So I think there was a number of things that, as I was driving home and I listened to Matt's press conference, I listened to Jordan's. Obviously, this morning I read your column and your 5 things. And where I'm kind of at right now, and where I'm struggling to kind of figure out what you put your finger on specifically with the offense for what ails them, is the fact that, and fans hate this because they always want to just find somebody to put everything on. But
yeah, it's the blame game is what everybody wants to play, and you have to take a step back from that and look at it in a bigger picture.
Well, because it's everything.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Jordan taking some bad sacks at improper times. It is the play call on 4th and 1 that the Philadelphia Eagles, hear the call and react to it.
Yeah.
And it makes Josh have to try to, pitch the ball, and it doesn't work out. It's the inability for the offensive front to move the defensive front and give Jacobs room to work with. It is the drops. It's a lot of issues that the Packers are working through right now, and I think what hurts the most, to your original point that you kind of brought up earlier, when they needed that spark, when they needed to move the chains, it was Tucker Kraft. It's been Romeo Doubs, who they had to play a majority of the second half without. And, let's be real, the fact that, we were talking with Bo Melton in the locker room afterwards, it sounds like Bo really the last week is where he started really practicing a lot at receiver again. Guy played 26 snaps at receiver.
Yeah.
He had the illegal formation penalty. I think Wicks also had one during the course of the game.
Yeah, that was the thing, is even if the Eagles don't know the 4th and 1 run is coming, right? That they were calling out and they buried Jacobs in the backfield and all that. The Packers were going to be in 4th and 6 because they lined up illegally. It was going to be a 5-yard penalty. Even if they had converted it, they were going to have to do it over again. I want to give the props to the defense because that was a whale of an effort, and I want to start by saying this. Because we don't know if the Packers defense is going to be able to keep this up. Obviously, it's an offense-oriented league, and there are times when things are just going to go wrong on defense, like they did in Dallas. Games like that happen. I know we're gonna hear from people over the next couple weeks about, well, where are the sacks for Micah Parsons and where are the pressures and the quarterback hits and everything. What you have to understand is that there were multiple times in that game last night where the defense put the Eagles in 3rd and 10 plus, and the Eagles capitulated.
Yeah,
they handed the ball off. And what my point is, that is the Micah Parsons effect. Mm-hmm. That is the Eagles saying, we are not going to give Micah Parsons a chance to make a game-wrecking, game-changing play on 3rd and 14. We're just going to hand the ball off and punt. Yep. Because the Packers offense isn't doing enough to scare us. So Parsons is not going to have his chance to make the plays that he can make and that Rashawn Gary can make and a lot of these other guys. If the Packers offense can't get going, it's the grand explanation is this is a team game. Yep. And what the Packers defense did last night was really impressive. And even at the end of the game, after giving up the 3rd and 12 conversion, which looked like maybe the death knell in the game when the Eagles converted that with the pass to Devontae Smith, the defense still rose up and got the stop on the next series of downs and got the ball back to the offense with plenty of time to drive for either a tying field goal or possibly a game-winning touchdown. Just a tremendous effort by the defense against an offense that what was the total?
56 in the last 2 games.
It was 66, 38 and 28.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, 66 points in the last 2 games. And the Eagles walked out of Lambeau Field with 10. You got to hand it to the Packers defense, and it's frustrating because that was a truly wasted performance without being able to get the win there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up that point. That's such a great point you raised. Maybe the best one on the show so far about the quarterback hits, the sacks, and where things are at with Parsons in this, because just flip the script, right? It's not even that you have to necessarily be in a situation where you're up by 3 touchdowns. The Eagles, up by 1 score basically the entire game, look at the pressure they were able to generate on Jordan Love because the Packers were put in some obvious passing situations where they need to push the ball downfield. Jalen Hurts, with the exception of 4 plays, didn't really have to do that.
Yeah.
And when he had to make them, he made them. You give your credit there, you tip your cap to him. I mean, he made some franchise quarterback plays throughout the course of that game, but there was so much that was based on, and a part of me wonders that first series where Edgerrin Cooper gets the punch out.
Yeah.
If this is an offense, by the way, that has at that point given up only 3 giveaways the entire season.
We talked about that last week. Yeah, they'd protected the ball as well as anybody in football. 3 giveaways through 8 games.
So you have to wonder if between Nick Sirianni and that offensive coaching staff, if they're thinking at that point where it's like, okay, possessions at a premium, don't give them anything, and see if you can eventually, matriculate the ball down the field. They did it. The fact that, and I thought Evan Williams brought up a really good point, that's a trademark of the Eagles too, that when they get an explosive play like they got with the Barkley 41-yard pickup, they will immediately look to hustle downfield and try to hit you again. And they did, and that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, it was amazing how quickly the game turned from, okay, it's 3-0. The Eagles got the field goal on their opening drive of the second half after the 0-0 first half, and then early in the fourth quarter, the Eagles have 3rd and 7 on their own 23-yard line, and essentially a check down pass, with Barkley as the outlet out towards the boundary to Hurts's left. A check down pass turns into the big explosive play of 41 yards with the spin move, and as you said, then they hustle up and boom. Okay, now they're in attack mode, and bang, they throw downfield, and Evan Williams is one-on-one with Devontae Smith on the back end, and Smith out jumps him for the ball. 2 plays, 77 yards, and the game goes from 3-0 to 10-0, like just like that. And but when we're talking about those 2 plays, and I'll only bring up one other one, which was when Jalen Hurts missed the backup tight end, I don't even remember his name, down the seam in the first half. He was open for what was looking like a potential touchdown.
I can't say his name.
I can't even remember what his name is. But
Calcaterra.
anyway, that's like the only other like real defensive breakdown type of play. We're talking about 3 plays in this game, where the defense gave up something significant to the Eagles, and now it was as far as the whole bounce back thing goes, it was an incredible defensive effort against the run based on how the previous game against Carolina had gone and how Rico Dowdle had kind of carved up the Packers' run defense. We knew from what had happened early on in the Pittsburgh game and then what was going on in the Carolina game that the Packers had some things to shore up there, and boy did they ever, because Saquon Barkley had, 60 yards on 22 carries?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at their entire running back room, those numbers got boosted a little bit by Jalen Hurts scrambling for 27 yards. Their actual running backs ran the ball 29 times for 84 yards in the game. 29 times for 84 yards. That's less than 3 yards a carry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was a yeoman's effort. I thought Kobe Wooden played a whale of a game coming off the shoulder injury. I mean, Quay Walker had 2 impactful tackles for a loss.
Yep.
Devontae Wyatt had a key one as well. If you're going to be in this situation where they're not dropping back that way, you need to find ways to generate negative plays. The defense did that. And are we going to be pivoting over to talk about the rest of the games? Is this the end? Are we finishing?
Just about.
I want to mention this. It has nothing to do with the defense, so I apologize for taking us off course. But
That's okay.
I will say this. If you're looking for reasons for optimism for Green Bay, and we'll probably expound more upon that when you get away from this on Thursday, but 2 things. One, the Kansas City Chiefs are in their bye week right now at 5-4, and they are looking at a much more daunting task within the AFC West than what Green Bay even faces in the North right now, with how Denver's playing, with how things have lined up for them. And 2, I did feel like there was something that Green Bay grabbed onto here, and I'm curious to see where it goes the rest of the season if he's healthy. Christian Watson's 3rd and 10 catch was a key moment in this game. Green Bay does not take advantage of it, but it was a strong hands catch across the middle.
Yeah.
And so Christian ends up with 2 catches for 45 yards. But after the game, Christian's tweeted I think 4 times in the last year. After the game, somebody had put up the clip of the deep ball that Love had tried earlier to him in the end zone and said, should Christian Watson have caught this ball? And Christian, quote, retweeted and said, yes. When you're talking about leadership, when you're talking about guys that are coming to their own as a 4th-year player, we'll see what's going on with Matthew Golden. We'll see what's going on with Romeo Doubs.
Yeah.
Obviously, we need to find – I think Christian is there. And when you're looking at what this game plan is going to be for the Giants game and going forward, I don't know what it's all going to be. But as much as we talk about spreading the ball around, if the Packers are limited in numbers at the receiver position, I wonder if there's opportunities there to cook some stuff up for Christian Watson, because it looks like he's ready to go.
Yeah, and as Watson's reaction to that play indicates, and we've seen this across the board as well, there's no lack of accountability amongst the players.
Yeah.
They know what they have to do. They know that they're not getting the job done on the offensive side of the ball. So they're taking ownership of it, and they're gonna have to they're gonna figure it out at some point here, but they're gonna do it together. It's not gonna be through a bunch of finger pointing or this is what you have to do or this is what you have to do. That's not how this works.
No, and I love that. I'm glad you brought that up, because in the locker room afterwards, that was the prevailing sentiment. Matt LaFleur had his best comment he probably made at the press conference is, we just need a win right now.
Yep.
They have to go to New York, and they got to try to get a win. They have to get some positive vibes here. But in the locker room, it was when we were talking with Keyshawn, like he said, it's like, we're not mad at the offense right now. We know how this game is played. These guys have all been around a long time. There's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be a time at the point this season where the offense is going to pick up the defense. We know it's going to happen. The defense understands its role right now is to keep points off the board and give the offense a chance to try to get to that 20-point mark, to try to build some, momentum and build some production. But there's no panic, and Micah Parsons said it as well. There is no panic. You're still 5-3-1. It's not great. It doesn't feel great. And if you don't find answers, that number and that winning, +2 is going to evaporate.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a lot of veterans in that room right now that have been through some down times, and are hoping that you could switch this thing around. If you look at where Green Bay was at 2 years ago at 3-6, obviously you'd do anything to be sitting at 5-3 like they are right now.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think. I mean, how quickly things change. Where team goes from 5-1-1 to suddenly 2 weeks later, and you're just saying, boy, they need to win in the worst way, and it doesn't matter how they get it. It's like they just need a win. They need some kind of good mojo.
Back-to-back home losses will do that for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we do have to pay some bills, and then we'll come back and wrap it up. But right now, a word from our sponsors. SiriusXM NFL Radio delivers hard-hitting analysis and up-to-the-minute NFL news that true football fanatics need 24/7, 365. At Cousin Subs, we have something for everyone, like our Wisconsin cheese curds, mac and cheese, golden fries, and creamy shakes, all paired with your favorite sub or sub in a bowl. Cousin Subs, 50-plus years of better. Pit Boss Grills, the official grill of Packers tailgating at Lambeau or at your house. Take your game day to the next level with a Pit Boss wood pellet grill. Pit Boss Grills available at Menards. Hey Packers fans, we always knew Lambeau Field was a wonder, but now it's official. Learn more about all the wonders of Wisconsin at travelwisconsin.com/wonders. Welcome back to Packers Unscripted. Well, Wes, where the Packers stand is not a surprise because the Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears both get victories to get themselves to 6-3.
Yeah.
And those are the two teams now sitting atop the NFC North. The Lions technically would be in the lead because they beat the Bears head-to-head. The Packers dropped to third place at 5-3-1, and I know on our next show we're going to talk all about the Giants. But after the Giants game, 5 of the last 7 are division opponents.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be the crux of the schedule. That is going to be the portion of the schedule that defines this season one way or another for Green Bay. You got to go to New Jersey and get a win over the Giants and get to 6-3-1 before this stretch of division games. But the definition of this season has yet to be written.
Yeah, I just want to say this too. You're absolutely great points. The division games, one way or another, I said it from the beginning. I said it if the Packers won this game against the Eagles, there were still going to be high stakes against the Giants and what's to
No
come.
doubt.
But, I want to mention this, and obviously the Giants let another one get away from them. This time, unfortunately, it was to the Chicago Bears, and it ended up being Brian Daboll's last game as the head coach of the Giants. This has nothing to do with the Packers. Win, lose, or draw, whatever happens Sunday. I'm going to say this, though. I do not want to see Jackson Dart playing in that game Sunday. It has nothing to do with football. That's his 4th concussion now I think he got diagnosed with a concussion too, right?
Yeah, what I understand is that he's been evaluated 4 times, and I believe this is the 2nd officially diagnosed concussion at this point.
I mean, we'll see what happens. It's the Giants' decision here. Obviously, Russell Wilson's the backup. He's the guy that finished that game against Chicago.
Jameis Winston is there as well.
Yeah.
I'm not ruling out.
Yeah.
I'm not ruling out that the Packers might see Jameis Winston
Possible.
on Sunday.
And Jameis has made some magic against this team too. But, dude, you guys got a future to look at here, and you have 2 wins right now. I mean, when I saw that, and then obviously all the dramatic stuff the last couple of weeks, Dabble going into the injury tent and all this, it's just like the way they're using Dart. He's a really exciting young guy.
Yep.
You got to keep this kid healthy. But I give the Bears a lot of credit, man. They found a way, and Caleb Williams played borderline terrible the first 3 quarters, but this is what number 1 overall picks and guys that you build your franchise around do. And Rome Odunze looks like he's going to be a really good receiver in this league. Dude, I said it last week. The Bears remind me so much of the Packers last year. They're winning games, and as we saw yesterday, that's all this game is about. How many wins do you have?
Yeah,
and the Bears have 6 now.
Yeah, it was impressive to me. Impressive isn't even the right word. I was borderline flabbergasted at how many times Caleb Williams got away from the New York Giants rush. And that is something that the Packers are going to have to prepare for because the Giants pass rush, just from watching that game against Chicago, the sack numbers they have is not indicative of how they get after quarterbacks, and that's going to be something the Packers have to deal with. And
the Packers are going to have to stop Brian Burns too.
Yeah, and you don't know what kind of you don't know what kind of an atmosphere that you're walking into with your opponent when they just fired the head coach, and now there's an interim head coach and there's uncertainty at quarterback, and who knows. But the Packers can't even think about any of that. They have to. Everything has to be internal right now, and figuring things out amongst themselves. So we will talk more about the Giants on our next show, but for now, we'll call it a wrap on this edition of Packers Unscripted. Be sure to continue following all of our coverage of the team on Packers.com. For Wes, I am Mike. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next time.